state. This in fact is a complaint that has been lodged by the crew of the aircraft. They say that the pilot in command was in such a bad state that he even required assistance to walk out of the plane. There were instances when he was found sitting on the floor of the cockpit of the aircraft. In fact, it was the first pilot of this particular A320 aircraft that in fact stabilized the plane after it witnessed a massive 300 feet of altitude loss mid-air. In fact, he was the pilot that safely landed the aircraft at Delhi's IGI airport, and he clearly instructed the ground staff there that the pilot in command is not in a position, he is in fact not in a position to take control of the aircraft mid-air, and that is exactly why the first pilot took over the charge of the aircraft. He was the one who stabilized this aircraft and he then landed it at Delhi's IGI airport. Now what we are also learning from the investigators, in fact these are sources that are close to the investigation, they say that in the first statement that has been given by the pilot in command, he says that he was on prescribed antibiotics at the time of this flight. He had some issues related to sleep and it was his family doctor who recommended him some antibiotics, and he was on these antibiotics at the very moment when this incident happened. However, what these reports suggest, what these narcotics, in fact, what the toxicology reports suggest is that he was high on marijuana at the time of the flight, and this in fact is a massive incident of apathy, because the flight itself witnessed a massive loss of altitude by nearly 300 feet mid-air, and it was the first pilot who took over the charge to stabilize the plane, who in fact landed the plane at Delhi's IGI airport. And now we are also seeing the crew of the aircraft in fact formally lodging a complaint with the airline in regards to the complaint of the pilot in command. Rakshita.
All right, many thanks, Harsh, for joining us with details coming in. Public TV continues to give more details, and of course, we are also debating that story at 9 p.m. today. Now, shifting our focus to other stories, viewers, another flight which witnessed panic. Major panic, in fact, was witnessed during Delhi to Pune SpiceJet flight after the passengers allegedly faced breathing difficulties due to a technical issue now. That happened just before the takeoff. Passengers claim that when they raised the alarm, the cabin crew and pilot allegedly misbehaved with them and asked them to remain seated. One of the passengers even alleged that a SpiceJet manager brought in gunmen to silence them. Passengers have now demanded strict action, alleging serious negligence by the airline. Here's more.
A technical emergency in Pune-bound SpiceJet flight from Delhi created a major panic. The technical issue led to passengers facing breathing issues. The incident unfolded moments before the takeoff as the aircraft was moving towards the runway. According to the passengers, the sudden technical snag caused the temperatures inside the aircraft to rise sharply, leaving many passengers gasping for air. What allegedly followed added to the passengers' distress. Passengers stated that instead of addressing their concern, the pilot and cabin crew allegedly misbehaved with them and asked them to remain seated. One of the passengers, Leshpal, while speaking to Republic, further made a serious allegation against SpiceJet and stated that the SpiceJet manager brought in gunmen to silence the passengers.
हमें इनका टेक्निकल इशू कुछ मालूम नहीं रहता, ज्यादा टेक्निकल चीजें मालूम भी नहीं है, लेकिन उनको हम रिक्वेस्ट कर रहे थे कि सबको परेशान हो रही है, कुछ तो हमें सॉल्यूशन दे दो। तो वो हमें चिल्ला रहे थे, हमें गुस्सा कर रहे थे कि आप ऐसे बात नहीं कर सकते हो, आप चुप बैठो, आवाज मत करो। वो ग्राउंड पे जब हम प्रोटेस्ट करने लगे, घोषणाएं देने लगे, तो उन्होंने सीआईएसएफ के 100-150 जवान बुलाए सर, गनमैन विद गन्स, हमें चुप करने के लिए।
Soon after the incident, SpiceJet spokesperson reacted to it and said that an alternative aircraft was arranged for passengers and the flight subsequently operated to Pune. He further stated that he deeply regrets the inconvenience caused to the passengers. The passengers are now demanding accountability and strict action against SpiceJet for their negligent behavior.
And the State Investigation Agency, or the SIA, has launched raids in multiple locations of Jammu and Kashmir in connection with the 1990 killings of Kashmiri pundits, poet Sarbanand Kaul Premi and his 27-year-old son. The two were abducted from their home in Anantnag in April 1990, and they were found dead 2 days later. The case was reopened following directions from the Home Ministry to reinvestigate the killings of minorities during the 1990s. Here's a full report.
Right now, we are reporting from the Shahbaz colony where the raids are presently underway with regards to the killings of Kashmiri Pandits that have taken place in 90s. And the visuals that we are showing you from the houses that are presently being raided by the teams of the State Investigating Agency. Important to mention that this case pertains to Sarbanand Kaul Premi, one of the renowned Kashmiri Pandit poets, and his son, 27-year-old son, Virendra, who was brutally killed after being abducted on 29th of April 1990. A total of 9 locations are presently being raided by the teams of the State Investigation Agency, and we are told that several other cases that are linked to the killings of the minorities that will also be reopened by the agency in the days to come. Reason being that the security apparatus, be it the Ministry of Home Affairs or the Jammu and Kashmir LG administration, they have taken a serious note of all those cases that were closed prematurely, or the closure report had to be filed due to the absence of all those witnesses, as no one came to give witness to this abduction and the killings that have taken place.
All right, breaking news coming in right now, viewers. Pakistani fighter jets carried out airstrikes on civilian homes in Sorab and Gwadar areas of Balochistan last night. And in those Pakistani strikes, at least 27 people have been killed. That includes women and children, allegedly, and injuring many others. Preliminary reports indicate that at least 27 civilians have been killed in Pakistani strikes. That includes women and children. And according to sources, the airstrikes caused heavy human and material damage to the civilian areas. You can see the visuals also that are coming in. These are heart-wrenching visuals, and Pakistani army is not the first time reported to have targeted civilians. And now in Balochistan, as pressure mounts on them, and when they see that the land is slipping away, they resort to brute force, they resort to targeting civilians. They've not done this for the first time, but we've seen this happening again. Gursimran Singh joins us live on the broadcast from Gursimran. Well, these are heart-wrenching visuals that are emerging from Balochistan, where at least 26 to 27 people have been killed, and then there are children and women who also have been injured or even have been killed in Pakistani strikes.
See, what it seems is the Pakistan's retaliation, or you can say resentment, against the recent Independence that has been declared by the Baluch rebels. Because what we have seen, that this is a retribution to what we have been witnessing, what the Baluchs have done. Because apart from the large-scale damage to the Pakistani security forces, on the international platform as well, we have seen Pakistan being sidelined by the Baluch activists, and they have declared their independence. Now coming to this instance that has been reported in Girad as well as in Shorab area, it was overnight strikes that have taken place, overnight strikes by the Pakistani sides, in which 27 people have been killed. But to the utter shock is that the majority of those who have been killed are the women and the minor children. They have been the target of Pakistan, and soon after the strikes, Pakistani security forces seized the entire area, and they have taken the bodies of those killed under their control. They have taken the bodies under their control, and now not letting anyone from the Balochistan to take control of the bodies, which clearly shows that the Pakistan wants to hide that they have done the civilian casualties under the garb of the operation, the so-called operation that they have launched in Balochistan. So it is a clear frustration that is now out in open, and this we have seen even in the Kabul and Kandahar areas, even the areas of Paktika and Paktia province of the Afghanistan, where along the Durand line Pakistan has targeted the civilian area. So one thing is very clear, that whenever Pakistan feels frustrated or they feel that the situation is going out of the hand, they resort to targeting the civilian areas, and this was another such attempt by Pakistan in Balochistan.
All right, Gursimran Singh, I appreciate you joining us with details coming in on that story from Balochistan. Now we were shifting our focus to India. It's, of course, the Independence Day is around the corner, and the Har Ghar Tiranga campaign is gathering momentum across the country, with the tricolour taking centre stage in rallies, in public celebrations, right ahead of the 80th Independence Day. From an ATV Tiranga rally in Tangmarg and a flag march in Srinagar to bike rallies in Delhi and celebrations in West Bengal, the campaign is bringing the national flag into public spaces across the country. And as India prepares for the 15th of August, Prime Minister Narendra Modi urges the citizens to work tirelessly towards Vikasit Bharat. Let's see how these celebrations have started.
Across India, the tricolour is becoming a defining part of the countdown to Independence Day. The celebrations were started by Prime Minister Narendra Modi as PM Modi called upon citizens to participate enthusiastically in Har Ghar Tiranga campaign. He also urged the youth of the country to work and contribute towards a Vikasit Bharat as India goes to the celebration of its 80th Independence Day. The Har Ghar Tiranga campaign has moved beyond individual homes, with rallies, bike marches, community events bringing citizens together in a collective celebration of the national flag. In the national capital, the celebrations took onto the streets. NDA MPs participated in a Tiranga rally from Bharat Mandapam to India Gate, while a special bike rally brought parliamentarians and public representatives together ahead of 15th of August.
In Tiranga Yatras, bike and cycle rallies, cultural programs and concerts. Each activity has a different form, but the sentiment behind them is common. The national flag is the symbol in which every citizen can find a sense of belonging. I urge each one of you to carry this spirit forward by actively promoting the Har Ghar Tiranga campaign in your respective constituencies and the states and in your street and at your home. Inspire every citizen to hoist the tricolour flag with pride.
The tricolour carries a different meaning for every generation. But yet it remains a shared symbol of the country's journey and the freedom secured by those who came before.
सबसे पहले तो आप सभी को भारत के 80th इंडिपेंडेंस डे की बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। देखिए, तिरंगा केवल हमारा राष्ट्रीय ध्वज ही नहीं है, 140 करोड़ भारतीयों के संकल्प की शक्ति का प्रतीक है, हमारी महत्वाकांक्षाओं का प्रतीक है, हमारी आकांक्षाओं का प्रतीक है। और इसीलिए ये जो आज बाइक रैली आप देख रहे हैं, हमसे पहले जो पीढ़ी आई, जो हमारे स्वतंत्रता सेनानी थे, उनको नमन करती है। आज का जो युवा है और जो आने वाली पीढ़ी हमारे देश का भावी नेतृत्व भी है, हमारे देश का भविष्य भी है, उसको सेलिब्रेट करती है।
The campaign is reaching far from Delhi. In Jammu and Kashmir, the tricolour has been taking through the mountains and the valley as an ATV rally was organised as a part of the campaign. While across other parts of India, bike rallies were organised as many joined in on the celebration.
ये तिरंगा यात्रा अपने कर्तव्य के प्रति सकारात्मक भाव है। ये तिरंगा यात्रा इस देश के किसी भी व्यक्ति को, चाहे वो व्यवस्थापिका से जुड़ा हो, न्यायपालिका से जुड़ा हो, कार्यपालिका से जुड़ा हो या मीडिया से जुड़ा हो, जनजी हो, किसान हो, जवान हो, सभी लोग एक गर्व भाव से तिरंगा यात्रा में शामिल हो रहे हैं। हम धन्यवाद करते हैं नरेंद्र मोदी जी का, जिन्होंने स्पेशल तिरंगा यात्रा की शुरुआत करी।
The celebrations also reached West Bengal, with Minister Dilip Ghosh joining the flagging of the celebration in Kolkata. This year's Har Ghar Tiranga also carries a historic connection with Vande Mataram, as India marks the 150th anniversary of the national song. The campaign that brings together symbolism of the tricolour, the memory of India's freedom struggle, and the anticipation of another Independence Day.
A deadly ferry disaster struck Zimbabwe's Lake Kariba with at least 15 people killed, 27 still missing after an overcrowded vessel capsized. Authorities say that 77 people have been rescued. Here's more.
A routine ferry journey turned into a mass casualty disaster on Lake Kariba in Zimbabwe. A vessel carrying passengers capsized during the journey, leaving at least 15 people dead and 27 still missing. But the scale of the tragedy is still underscored, as the ferry was designed to carry just 90 people. Ticket records show 114 adult passengers along with 5 crew members, meaning at least 119 adults were aboard, even before counting for children who have not yet been included in the records. 77 people have been rescued and taken to safety as boats, a helicopter, and underwater search teams continue the operation. With 27 people still unaccounted for, authorities fear the death toll could rise. The exact cause of the tragedy remains under investigation, with overloading and vessel safety condition also likely to come under scrutiny.
And with that, wrap up this edition of Live and Breaking. But on the other side, we'll bring you the details on the report that has been tabled in the Parliament in connection with Justice Varma's cash scandal. We also bring you what Amit Shah has said in the Parliament as he dares the opposition to come over for a debate.
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ।
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ, स्वाद आया?
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
एयू करंट अकाउंट के साथ मिलता है फ्री यूपीआई क्यूआर ओवरड्राफ्ट फैसिलिटी और एक ही ऐप से बैंक के सारे काम। एयू,
सोच बदलो और बैंक भी।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरीडे।
खुद अपनी आंखों के सामने लोगों को मरते शहीद होते देख के मैं आया हूँ। बहुत हालात ख़राब हो चुके हैं, बहुत हालात ख़राब हो चुके हैं। इंटरनेशनल मीडिया को, सारी दुनिया को टैग करें और हम तक पहुँचाएं यार। इस वक्त यहाँ पे एम्बुलेंसेस की तादाद जो है वो कम पड़ गई है, गाड़ियाँ कम पड़ चुकी हैं। लोग जो है अपने ज़ख्मियों को अपनी मदद आपके तहत, कोई इधर से पकड़ा हुआ को उधर से, और रोड पे लहू ही लहू है। लगातार फायरिंग जारी है। ऐसा लग रहा है कि हम फलस्तीन में हैं कसम से। इन्होंने वो हालत बनाई हुई है। खाली करेगा, खाली करो, खाली करो। फोर्सेस की फायरिंग से जो है ना, इस वक्त बेशुमार नौजवान शहीद जख्मी हो चुके हैं और बेशुमार लोग शहीद हो चुके हैं। देख सकते हैं ये पाकिस्तानी फोर्सेस की बर्बरियत और जो है ना पाकिस्तानी फोर्सेस की फायरिंग से जो है ना, ये देखें किस तरह नौजवानों को, किस तरह स्ट्रेट फायर मारे जा रहे हैं नौजवानों को। ये देखें पाकिस्तानी फोर्सेस ने स्ट्रेट फायर किए नौजवानों को।
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो, मिलाओ और खाओ।
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है, सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
यानी इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना,
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील टीएम की बात एकदम सॉलिड।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ।
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट, ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े।
चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
Umpteen number of times the Modi government also has taken resort to, whenever the bills have come where you need to take all stakeholders involved on board, and the government from the day one has said that insofar as FCRA is concerned, we can speak to everyone and anyone and everyone and convince them that this is not targeted at them. For example, Home Minister himself has met not once, twice Christian delegations and told them that it is not targeted at them, and that even if you look at it, the contributions to church or churches in the country or missionaries just about 15 or 17%. And I have spoken to people in the agencies and they say that it's, our law also needs to be made compatible with, for example, the FATF. Yes. Likely, Niranjan, I can tell you that the bill might be brought in tomorrow and then referred to the JPC.
Okay, now this is turning out to be the tricky one because we just had some more information that, for example, the Sharad Pawar faction of the NCP wants the bill to go to the JPC, not withdraw or against, but they're saying, okay, send it to the JPC. But they also need the support of Sharad Pawar's party for delimitation. Not sure about this session, but at least in the next, maybe they're testing the numbers. But it's turning out to be really tricky with the numbers. What's the game plan there?
Well, you see, so far as numbers for a legislation like FCRA is concerned, that's not a problem, Niranjan. It does not need a special majority, in the sense it does not need a constitutional majority. Now, delimitation obviously is a work in progress. The government has a certain deadline in mind, for sure. But remember, delimitation by its very nature, apart from needing a special majority in parliament, in both the houses of parliament separately, it also needs to be passed by more than half the number of states. So it's a long process. I don't think, as I understand it, and as I have been given to understand when I have checked, that FCRA is in any ways linked with delimitation, or is there a trade-off? Because FCRA is a very significant piece of legislation connected with national security and overall social harmony. And to that extent, I think the government is very clear. FCRA is independent. Bring it in, give it to the JPC, let the views be discussed, let all the stakeholders be involved, and pass it perhaps in the winter session of Parliament. But so far as delimitation is concerned, obviously it's a work in progress. The government is slow.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Scathing comments there, conclusion rather, by a three-member Judicial Inquiry Committee that has come to the conclusion that Justice Yashwant Varma couldn't present credible information on what were the ownership details of the currency found from his residence, and in fact the report goes on to indict Justice Varma for his absolute failure to present a cogent case in his defense. That's our focus. Let's begin with the headlines.
Headlines brought to you by Canara Bank. Together we can.
Justice Yashwant Varma indicted in cash scandal case. Report says substantial unexplained rupees 500 notes stash found at his storeroom. Republic accesses full 126-page report in Justice Yashwant Varma cash scandal. Report states judge failed to furnish explanation.
सरकार की ओर से किरण रिजिजू जी ने, जो हमारे पार्लियामेंट्री अफेयर्स मिनिस्टर है, उन्होंने बहुत स्पष्ट कर दिया है कि जो नीट आंदोलन के छात्र प्रदर्शन पर सभी प्रकार की चर्चा करने के लिए सरकार तैयार है।
Amit Shah says ready for discussion in Parliament, dares opposition, asks opposition not to run away from the debate.
We're not interested in listening to Mr. Amit Shah's imagination. We're not interested in him giving us a lecture or a discussion.
Lok Sabha Leader of Opposition Rahul Gandhi says opposition not interested in listening to Home Minister's lectures in Parliament.
गृह मंत्री जी ने मुझे कॉपी दे करके स्पीकर साहब को लोकसभा में फिर से लेटर लिखा कि हम डिस्कशन के लिए बहुत खुले मन से, विस्तार से, डिटेल से डिस्कशन के लिए तैयार है.
Parliamentary Affairs Minister hits back. Kiren Rijiju says Home Minister was ready for debate, yet Congress ran away from it. Exclusive details of Air India mid-air scandal accessed. It is confirmed now that pilot in command was under the influence of drugs. Co-pilot of Air India plane stabilized and landed Air India flight. The co-pilot informed ground crew about pilot in command's condition. All right, friends, so let's begin with the story under focus, which is that we have accessed all 126 pages of report of Justice Yashwant Varma cash scandal, the only channel with the full 126-page cash stash report. The report with the Republic says the following, that unexplained 500 rupee notes in the storeroom of Justice Varma, and the judge failed to furnish explanation, and no signs of conspiracy against justice, and his reply was evasive and unsatisfactory. The judge's reply incomplete and misleading. Material objects were altered or removed. Essentially, the report goes on to slam Justice Varma for tinkering with the scene of crime, as one would call it. The spot from where the currency notes in half-burnt state were found, bundles of them, stashes of them, and then subsequently, equally mysteriously, they disappeared, and the inquiry report finding faults with Justice Varma for tinkering with the spot in a manner and not able to explain where the stash went subsequently, which means the report is effectively suggesting that, or saying rather, that Justice Varma had a role in removal of the evidence from this spot. All right, let's listen to some of the voices from so we have Satish Manishinde joining us, senior advocate of Bombay High Court, joining us, I believe, live on this. And Mr. Manishinde, how do you see this report? It clearly indicts Justice Varma for misleading, for effectively lying, for having destroyed the evidence and not being able to explain how the cash found itself there in the first place.
Well, right from March 2025, the entire country is embroiled into this investigation to find out how the judge was in possession of such a huge amount of cash in his bungalow. And his explanation was sought by the Chief Justice of India. Once the Chief Justice of India found that his explanation was not sufficient enough, he referred the matter to the Prime Minister and the Government of India, sent his report. He also asked Justice Varma to either resign because he found enough material against him, or face the impeachment proceedings. And Justice Varma decided to face the impeachment proceedings. Even given a chance, he refused to step into the box and be cross-examined by the committee and other people connected with the committee. Therefore, it is obvious that he had no explanation. Now, first of all, one has to find out from where the cash landed in his bungalow. Secondly, after it was found after the fire, how did it disappear and who all were those people responsible for destruction of evidence and secreting the material involved in crime. And thirdly, and most importantly, the fact that Justice Varma's personal belongings were in one of the lockers goes beyond reasonable doubt to prove that Justice Varma was in possession of that entire premises. He was allotted the bungalow. He was responsible for the entire incidents in that bungalow. And now he can't feign ignorance and say that the cash did not belong to him.
Yeah.
And if at all his explanation is that the cash did not belong to him, he must disclose to whom the cash belongs. The corridors of the Supreme Court and other power corridors are, agog with material discussions to say that one senior person connected with the Delhi judiciary was involved in destruction of evidence, and whatever was found in that bungalow thereafter was secreted away and taken to a farmhouse. Therefore, all these rumors are being spoken about. So it is high time Justice Varma comes out with the truth and tells the nation to whom the cash belongs and why he stored it there if at all it was not his. And if it came in his bungalow, how did it come in the bungalow and how did it disappear? So he can't feign ignorance to say that it did not belong to him.
Yeah, Mr. Manishinde, one very interesting aspect that comes out in this guilty report is that Justice Varma in his defense said this seems like a conspiracy against him. But when he was asked to present himself, I think he excused himself. He said he did not come and submit himself to questioning on, apart from a written statement, submit himself to questioning as to what happened to the cash afterwards, how did it disappear from the spot, who owned it, if it was there, who brought it there. So he did not submit himself to questioning. Obviously, that's almost gives an idea of the mea culpa there.
It is common sense and trite law also that if a person takes up a defense which is proven to be false and without any material, it is for him to explain as to how it landed there. So if a person takes a false defense and is caught using a false defense, it is obvious that he is guilty of the alleged crime. And therefore, my humble submission is that Justice Varma should come out with the truth and tell the nation why and how the cash landed there and how it disappeared and who was responsible for destruction of evidence. See, if it was anybody else's bungalow, the entire sequence of events as to how the cash came there, how the fire took place, how the cash disappeared, how the scene of crime was destroyed, could all be investigated and proven by technical evidence. There are CCTV cameras all over Delhi, and I'm sure there is enough CCTV material which can bring the culprits to book to suggest that those who brought the cash, those who took away the cash, those who destroyed it, and come on, it was the entire bungalow was under the surveillance of the police, highly regarded CRPF and other people. So there would be good witnesses in this case.
Yeah. I mean, this was supposed to be for impeachment, but obviously since he has resigned, that proceeding itself becomes infructuous.
Until and unless the resignation is accepted, he cannot be let off. So impeachment proceedings will continue, and I'm sure the Indian Parliament will be brave enough to impeach this corrupt judge.
Very nice. Thank you so much. Mr. Satish Manishinde, their legal expert, joining us from Mumbai. And that's also one of the stories in Primetime Focus, the accountability in judiciary. And this report seriously indicts Justice Varma. And would this provide an opportunity for a spotlight on this very important subject. That's prime time debate, but moving on for now. Republic super exclusive. The entire Air India 300 feet drop explained in a report. It reveals stunning onboard failures and Air India maintenance post-flight report accessed by your channel. The actual AI 2379 Phuket Delhi flight report, 11 warning messages triggered in 120 seconds. The autopilot went off twice on that flight. The first report generated after Air India incident, what explains 11 hydraulic failures in 2 minutes, which means that while the pilot was high on marijuana, there were some technical issues also in the flight, essentially maintenance issues. Now, what explains this hopeless state of affairs in Air India is something for their management to explain, but surprisingly, or perhaps not surprisingly so, they have chosen to remain silent except for one statement, which was just a templated reply acknowledging that this incident happened. We have Niranjan joining us from the newsroom for more on this. Niranjan, what is this report that you have? What does it say about the situation or the condition that the airline is being run in?
You know, Abhishek, I have this report in my hand, and what we'll also try and do in the course of the next few minutes is try and get a few aviation experts with us. This is the immediate report, Abhishek, of AI 2379, the Phuket to Delhi flight. It was an Airbus A320. Now, this flight, if I can ask my video, okay, I'm going to come a little closer to the camera. I have the full report with me in my hand, okay? This is the report as it stands, if I can just zoom into this. Now, what this report shows you, Abhishek, it's a Republic exclusive, so let's put the watermark on this, right? This is you have the time here and the kind of failure. This is the warning or maintenance status messages that is shown here. Date 4th of August, that is when the flight dropped 300 feet mid-air. The flight number AI 2379, right? And I have the timing of the report, this particular report, GMT, that's Greenwich Meridian Time, 5:44 a.m. And now when you look at this, the series of failures, Abhishek, I have the series of failures here. Thoda zoom in, yahan pe thoda zoom in kijiye. If you just zoom in here, I hope it's not blurring because it's okay. Take a look at this. Now, in a span of about 2 minutes, Abhishek, 120 seconds, what you see here, and I will read out over this, right? At 4:02, you have a hydraulic green system, low pressure. These are warning and maintenance status messages. So at 4:02 mid-air, you have hydraulic green systems, low pressure, hydraulic blue and yellow systems, low pressure, hydraulic green and blue low systems, low pressure. Autopilot goes off at the same time at 4:02. At 4:02, there's also a flight control left and right elevator fault. At 4:02, there's a hydraulic green and yellow systems low pressure failure. At 4:02, there's a hydraulic green systems low pressure. At 4:02, there's a hydraulic yellow reservoir low level. At 4:02, there's a hydraulic reservoir low level blue. At 4:03, there's a door right forward emergency exit warning message. At 4:05, there's a door rear aft emergency exit warning. Now, all of this happened at 4:02, Abhishek. Now, this is a hydraulic failure. 10 to 11 hydraulic failures in about 120 seconds. Now, we have the full report with us, right? Now, what caused that drop, we don't know. We are no experts. But what I can tell you is that this is a maintenance post-flight report. And there is a drop at 4:02. You see the drop here. At 4:02, all these things happen simultaneously. There's a hydraulic systems low pressure in blue and yellow, green and blue. Autopilot goes off. Interestingly, at 5:22, the autopilot goes off again. So the autopilot went off twice. It was disconnected at least twice. We have the full report. This is the actual raw report, Abhishek. This is the actual report that was taken out immediately after the incident, and I have it with us. I don't know whether we have Group Captain Agustin Vinod joining us. He's joining us live. Group Captain Agustin Vinod. He will be able to break this down for us, Abhishek.
Yeah,
Group Captain Agustin Vinod. What are did the hydraulic failures happen first and then the flight drops 300 feet, or did the hydraulic failures, were that a result of a human error? How do you read this report, Group Captain Vinod? And how can the autopilot, get disconnected twice? What's the story here?
Good question, Niranjan. See, transient failures when you encounter turbulence can occur, and it is enshrined in the document, because the turbulence, especially at very high altitude, is can be a violent event. And I've been in some severe turbulence myself. It can be a violent event, autopilot cutting off, and a minor failure occurring in turbulence is something that many pilots have seen. But all these failures together, at least I am seeing for the first time. I mean, if this document is...
Mr. Group Captain Vinod, we have some audio issue there. We'll fix it and come back to you because this needs to be really explained to our viewers as to what this, what these technical glitches mean. Like these happened while the flight was in air and the pilot in command was not in command. Niranjan, so basically it's coming together of two events. One is that the pilot in command was high and he was not in his chair. He had left it on autopilot, and that the co-pilot had to really take charge of things. And then these technical glitches that speak volumes about the manner in which the airline is being run.
Abhishek, I'm not an expert and I only have the report, but what I can certainly ask legitimately as a journalist is, were all these errors, were all these warning messages triggered as a result of a human failure and a drop? Because, for example, what caught my eye was the door rear forward emergency exit and door rear forward after emergency exit. This is at 403, 405. So at 402, all these warning messages happen, and at 405 and 403 and 405, 2 minutes after that, there's the emergency exit error. So we don't know whether something fell on the door and the warning messages were triggered. And all of these messages all these warnings are triggered, in seconds, Abhishek, perhaps happening at the same time. So was it a result of the drop, or was the drop a result of the failures? Now I think that's a legitimate question to ask. Certainly we can ask the experts, and perhaps it also explains why Airbus has been roped into the investigation. France's BAE will also be traveling to India to take a look at this, because for this to happen on an Airbus A320 at a time when Boeing is also being investigated, and there are only Boeing and Airbus. I mean, these are the only two, ironically, these are the only two, airline manufacturers we have to rely on for any of our flying and for our airline needs. So this is an extremely critical report, I think, which will be looked at very closely. The warning messages are back to back. There are 11 warning messages in about 120 seconds. I think in 60 seconds, there are about 10 warning messages. So did something go wrong? Was there a malfunction that led to the drop, or did turbulence lead to a drop, or was that pilot who was high, who was out of his senses, who was drugged out? From all details that we're picking up, in fact, even the cabin crew this morning, from the details we've picked up, cabin crew found out that he was completely indisposed. He was disheveled. He was not in a position to fly. He was on the cockpit floor. They had to lift him from the cockpit floor and put him back on the seat. And a co-pilot eventually had to, land the plane in Delhi. I mean, just imagine how scary this situation is. And to top that up, Abhishek, when you look at that video that we showed yesterday, right? There's a video where you can hear the pilot saying, and he sounds completely off. He's almost begging people, passengers, not to record what is happening on the flight. Yeah. Right? It's adding up. he was not in his senses, and he's begging passengers not to shoot videos or post them on social media. Perhaps he knows what's gone wrong already. Let's see if Group Captain Agustin Vinod is back. We'll go back to him. He's not there. Okay, he's not there. But I think we'll try and get a few experts also live in the next few minutes. Maybe they'll be able to, break this down for us and explain what these failures meant, back-to-back failures, and whether they were part of, whether, these failures led to the fall, the drop, or was there a human error that triggered these error messages?
All right, thank you so much, Niranjan. In fact, that's the agenda, primetime debate tonight, because the situation in which our civil aviation sector is in cannot be left like that. Accountability needs to be fixed, and it seems like not just an industry-wide phenomenon, but also involves bodies like the DGCA, regulator included. So that's going to be our focus, but we are slipping to a short break. Coming up on the other side, more on the AI Phuket Delhi flight, 300 feet drop, what happened, we explain with a report coming out.
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ।
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ, स्वाद आया? आया।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
AU सेविंग्स अकाउंट में मिलते हैं अमेजिंग बेनिफिट्स, पेपरलेस बैंकिंग एंड हायर इंटरेस्ट, वो भी हर महीने।
मनी 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 एवरी मंथ।
सोच बदलो और बैंक भी।
कुछ तो सस्ता लो,
सब बढ़िया लो।
इसमें क्या खास बात है?
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात।
और मसाला।
खुद अपनी आंखों के सामने लोगों को मरते शहीद होते देख के मैं आया हूँ। बहुत हालात ख़राब हो चुके हैं, बहुत हालात ख़राब हो चुके हैं। इंटरनेशनल मीडिया को, सारी दुनिया को टैग करें और हम तक पहुँचाएं यार। इस वक्त यहाँ पे एम्बुलेंसेस की तादाद जो है वो कम पड़ गई है, गाड़ियाँ कम पड़ चुकी हैं। लोग जो है अपने ज़ख्मियों को अपनी मदद आपके तहत, कोई इधर से पकड़ा हुआ को उधर से, और रोड्स पे लहू ही लहू है। लगातार फायरिंग जारी है। ऐसा लग रहा है कि हम फलस्तीन में हैं, कसम से इन्होंने वो हालत बनाई हुई है। फोर्सेस की फायरिंग से जो है ना, इस वक्त बेशुमार नौजवान शहीद जख्मी हो चुके हैं और बेशुमार लोग शहीद हो चुके हैं। देख सकते हैं ये पाकिस्तानी फोर्सेस की बर्बरियत और जो है ना पाकिस्तानी फोर्सेस की फायरिंग से जो है ना, ये देखें किस तरह नौजवानों को, किस तरह स्ट्रेट फायर मारे जा रहे हैं नौजवानों को। ये देखें पाकिस्तानी फोर्सेस ने स्ट्रेट फायर किए नौजवानों को। ये देखें लोग, रास्ता छोड़ो। हमारे बहुत सारे भाई जख्मी हो चुके हैं। अल्लाह की जात हमारे भाइयों की हिफाजत करे, अल्लाह की जात हमारे भाइयों की हिफाजत करे। क्या सूरत आली? सूरत बहुत बुरी है, सबको मारे जा रहे हैं लगातार। इसके अंदर 3 बंदूकों हेडशॉट की इन्होंने की है, कितने के बच्चों ने, 15 से 20 लोग, और बहुत सारे बंदूकों ने इनको जख्मी किया है। बहुत सारे अल्लाहु अकबर। 15 से 20 नौजवानों को गोलियां लग चुकी है, कम से कम 15 से 20 नौजवानों को गोलियां लग चुकी है। बहुत सारे भाई हमारे जख्मी हो गए भाई।
All right, coming up after a short break, the 300 feet drop explained, an exclusive report access by Republic.
Our pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
I wake up wearing someone else again. Don't let it slip. I'm losing. I don't wanna be safe anymore. Underneath, there's a
Finding myself. That's my moment of Sarah.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट।
स्वाद बनाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और परेशान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
Umpteen number of times the Modi government also has taken resort to, whenever the bills have come where you need to take all stakeholders involved on board, and the government from the day one has said that insofar as FCRA is concerned, we can speak to anyone and everyone and convince them that this is not targeted at them. For example, the Home Minister himself has met not once, twice Christian delegations and told them that it is not targeted at them, and that even if you look at it, the contributions to church or churches in the country or missionaries just about 15 or 17%. And I have spoken to people in the agencies and they say that it's, our law also needs to be made compatible with, for example, the FATF. Yes. Likely, Niranjan, I can tell you that the bill might be brought in tomorrow and then referred to the JPC. Okay, now this is turning out to be the tricky one, because we just had some more information that, for example, the Sharad Pawar faction of the NCP wants the bill to go to the JPC, not withdraw or against, but they're saying, okay, send it to the JPC. But they also need the support of Sharad Pawar's party for delimitation. Not sure about this session, but at least in the next, maybe they're testing the numbers. But it's turning out to be really tricky with the numbers. What's the game plan there? Well, you see, so far as numbers for a legislation like FCRA is concerned, that's not a problem, Niranjan. It does not need a special majority, in the sense it does not need a constitutional majority. Now, delimitation obviously is a work in progress. The government has a certain deadline in mind, for sure. But remember, delimitation by its very nature, apart from needing a special majority in Parliament, in both the houses of Parliament separately, it also needs to be passed by more than half the number of states. So it's a long process.
Headlines brought to you by Canara Bank. Together we can.
Republic accesses the Air India maintenance post-flight report, which reveals 11 warning messages being triggered in 120 seconds mid-air. Exclusive details of Air India mid-air scandal accessed. It's now confirmed that the pilot in command was under the influence of drugs. He was stoned, he was drugged out mid-air. Sources say the co-pilot of the Air India AI-2379 stabilized and landed the Air India flight. The co-pilot then informed the ground crew about the pilot in command's condition. Justice Yashwant Varma indicted in the cash scandal. Report says substantial, unexplained 500 rupee notes were found at his storeroom in Delhi. Republic accesses the 126-page report in the Justice Yashwant Varma cash scandal. The report confirms that the judge failed to give any explanation on where and how he got the money.
we're not interested in listening to Mr. Amit Shah's imagination. We're not interested in him giving us a lecture or a discussion.
Leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi says that the opposition and his party specifically is not interested in listening to the Home Minister's lecture in Parliament.
गृह मंत्री जी ने मुझे कॉपी दे करके स्पीकर साहब को लोकसभा में फिर से लेटर लिखा कि हम डिस्कशन के लिए बहुत खुले मन से, विस्तार से, डिटेल से डिस्कशन के लिए तैयार है.
Kiran Rijiju and the government calling out the Congress party says Home Minister ready for a debate, but the Congress shifting the goalpost again and is running away from discussing NEET issue in Parliament. Says he's never seen an opposition party like Congress.
Viewers, we begin with this Republic super exclusive, a major scoop. This is regarding the entire Air India flight that dropped 300 feet and now explained. A report reveals stunning on-board failures. The Air India maintenance post-flight report has been accessed. In fact, Republic is the only channel to access the actual Air India 2379 report. There were 11 warning messages that was triggered in 120 seconds. Autopilot went off twice on the Phuket to Delhi Air India flight. In fact, the first report generated after Air India incident. What explains is that 11 hydraulic failures in 2 minutes. So these are some of the visuals on your screen. There have been several lapses that have been triggered. Autopilot was also triggered during this flight from Phuket to Delhi. And in fact, Republic super exclusive that Republic has access that there have been 11 warning messages that were triggered within 120 seconds. That even the autopilot went off, not just once, twice it went off, and during the flight as well. And the first one was generated after this incident. In fact, we have more. Right, now I'm joined by Executive Editor Niranjan to give us more information in this. Niranjan, tell us more what this exclusive that Republic has access on the flight that dropped 300 feet.
So we have accessed the immediate report of what really happened on board AI 2379. Now that's the Phuket to New Delhi flight, which experienced a 300-foot drop mid-air, and we've accessed the first post-flight report, the maintenance post-flight report, and it's on the screen, and I have a copy of it, so I'd like to read from it as well. And this report says, maybe we can show that full frame, and I'll read off it. It shows that, you have it full frame. Now, you have at least 10 to 11 hydraulic failures back to back. You have, in a span of about 60 seconds, at least 11 failures. Hydraulic G system low pressure, hydraulic blue and yellow system low pressure, hydraulic green and blue system low pressure, autopilot goes off, flight control left and right elevator fault detected, hydraulic green and yellow system low pressure, hydraulic green systems low pressure, hydraulic yellow reservoir low level, hydraulic blue reservoir low level. And 60 seconds later, door right forward emergency exit also starts, showing a warning maintenance status message, and followed by at 4:05 door rear aft emergency exit also showing an error message. And before the flight landed, the autopilot went off a second time. So now this is to any layman, I think what this shows is that there were several errors on the flight. Now, how did this trigger? What went wrong? Is it a technical fault, a hydraulic failure on board, or was it triggered by human error? Now, these are answers that only investigators can give. I think we have Vandana Singh. Vandana, are you there? Hi, good evening.
Ranjan, thank you for having me there.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot of questions need to be answered over here, which the FDR and the CVR are going to reveal. Let the investigation take its shape right now, because on one hand, as we know, we have what we call a technical glitch that was said earlier. And if this is showing as triple hydraulic failure, I am surprised. How come the aircraft was taken all the way to Delhi, and why did it not land in Bhubaneswar or Lucknow or Varanasi, whatever was closest? If this is the way the erroneous, or this is way the messages are showing about the hydraulic failure. Now, if there was clear air turbulence, as I have said, which is what happens over Bay of Bengal, that side moving over from Myanmar, Southeast Asia, coming this side into India, then that can be a combination along with this, which can cause the downward draft. This is my first take on these messages that have come, that could have caused the draft, downward draft of 300 feet. But also there could be a human angle to it. That, of course, the dope test is saying what the facts are. So it's a accumulation or a concoction of a lot of factors which have to be investigated, and the report has to come out quick and fast by the AIB. This is my take on it, Niranjan.
Okay, stay with me, because I also have Group Captain Agustin Vinod. He's an IF veteran. He's also an investigator of such issues. So I'll just get a word from him. Group Captain Agustin Vinod, there can only be two possibilities, right? It's an Airbus. Was it a technical fault on the Airbus? Back-to-back failures that led to that 300-foot drop? Or was it human error that led to the drop and that triggered these warning messages? Now, what could have happened? What are the possibilities? Of course, we can't conclude saying this happened, that happened. But what do all these 13 or 14 errors, actually it's 13 plus 3, 16 errors. 16 errors mid-air before the flight landed. What do they indicate? Group Captain Vinod.
Thank you, Niranjan. See, there are two issues are connected and one is not. First, if it is a technical preceded the drop, then it won't be a transient failure. I'm repeating myself. If it was technical followed by the altitude drop, the error won't be transient. So it is the altitude drop followed by the technical, because, like ma'am said, because of severe turbulence, when there is a altitude drop, then a transient failure can occur because of negative G. And it immediately goes off. If you look at the time, occurs at 0402 and vanishes also by 0402. The other two failures of anti-ice and autopilot tripping off is much, much later and not connected to the drop. The drop has happened at 0402 and it finished at 0402. So the negative G is what, in my opinion, caused this transient failure to occur. And during turbulence, transient failure can occur. So that is enshrined in the document. So nothing new there. Many times in turbulence, autopilot, most of the times in turbulence, the autopilot cuts out, because autopilot has only a certain amount of authority. Beyond that authority, if control moves to control the aeroplane, autopilot says, okay, now hand it over to more capable person than me, that is the pilot. There comes the third angle. The pilot who was flying is called the PF. PF was not the person, as far as I know, who tested positive. So PF was the person who was more capable. So the angle of toxicology report has absolutely zero bearing on what happened here. Apparently, he was standing. I mean, he was not even sitting at which he is permitted to, because in a long flight, every pilot can stand up to, get the blood flow back into his leg. So the PF was the junior of the two pilots who was not tested positive. So the other person who was standing and mere spectator. So him getting positive has, like I said, absolutely no bearing on what happened. So we should not run around a red herring. We should look at things as it unfolds, because once again, we are only six blind men, trying to find whether the elephant is fat or thin by looking, holding its trunk or tail. So we need to be a little more careful there. That's what I've been saying since yesterday. we need to be a little more careful, but absolutely bang on. This document that you obtained from your sources clearly indicates there have been umpteen number of issues with hydraulic. Hydraulic, mind you, is a fluid. Like fuel, hydraulic is a fluid, and these are fluid-related issues, which, in my intelligent understanding, happens when you have very high amount of negative G, which is a pushover. So, which also is corroborated by 300 feet height drop and passengers going and hitting because they were not strapped.
But Group Captain Vinod, are you saying that? No, 1 minute, 1 second. See, there is also the report details of this smoked out, drugged out pilot in the sky. The guy was high, he had smoked pot. The co-pilot had to drag him and put him back on his seat. And the co-pilot then eventually landed the flight. Okay? So I think that is more or less established now. There are 2 positive reports. Even the government has said non-negative, or DGC has said non-negative, which means positive, and there's a confirmatory report that shows that there has been 2 positive reports. So the guy was obviously not in his senses. You're saying it's not linked to this at all. Now we can't give him a clean sheet, because see, now there is another aspect to it. Of course, you're an expert, you are a pilot, yeah, you'll give us the technical aspects of it, fantastic, that's great. But just think of people like everyone else. I mean, people like me, people like my family, people who are watching, viewers, everybody watching this. It's a scary situation where you have a pilot who smokes up whatever, I mean, I don't know what marijuana, drugs, God knows what, and then he takes flight. He's a pilot in command. How can a person like that first take the flight, be in command, so to say, without a test, right? And our DGCA, our rules are so great here in India that I was reading that the first time you're caught, you're given time for another test, and then you're given first suspension of a few months, and then second time you get suspension for another 3 months, and the third time you get a permanent cancellation. So you're waiting for 3 accidents to happen. People could die in the first one. It's crazy.
No, that's not true, Naranjan. So you need to understand, PIC need not be PM or PF. So PIC is different. Pilot in command need not be the pilot on control, which is what happened here. No, the pilot in command was standing behind the seat because he was trying to get the blood flow back or whatever. I mean, we are permitted to get up one after the other so that your lower extremities or lower body doesn't go numb. So the guy who was flying was the co-pilot, but he was the PF pilot flying. There is a difference. So whether the pilot in command who was standing behind the seat had a toxicology positive, in this incident, I'm saying, absolutely no doubt, it is harakiri. In fact, I don't know how many people know this. In Middle East and all, it is death. If you're found with this kind of marijuana or whatever, the penalty is death penalty. So there are countries which take it extremely seriously. I'm not saying we should not take it seriously. We should absolutely take it seriously. But ours is, a democratic country, so there is a
Sir, once again, can I just pause you there for a second? Can I just pause you there for a second? You're saying there's death penalty in some of the Gulf countries if a pilot is caught in a situation like this, intoxicated or on drugs, right? And you're saying it's democracy in India. To what level, to what extent? You had the Ajit Pawar, yesterday we were mentioning in the Ajit Pawar crash, the captain there, Captain Sumit Malik, if I'm not wrong, that was his name, he was caught in 2010, first time tested positive for alcohol, second time in 2017, was caught again intoxicated, and then there were chat messages between that aviation company, I forget the name, I think it's VSR or something, where the owner of the company is telling this pilot, you better behave yourself because you have a VIP flight coming, and lo and behold, you had the same pilot crash the plane. Ajit Pawar is dead. It's a joke in India, sir. It's a joke. People are watching. It's a joke. You pray before every flight hoping that you bloody land alive. When you land, when the plane is landing, you're praying that you're alive at the end of it. It's a joke.
That is also not true, Niranjan, because 99% of the pilots, they lead a very ascetic life. You can't believe, I mean, if I have to get up at 2 o'clock for a 4:30 flight, I sleep at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the evening in a different room. So pilots lead an ascetic life, and no news is a good news, isn't it? And an uneventful flight is the best flight. And 99% of the flight in India is uneventful flight. No event at all.
No, but that doesn't justify somebody being intoxicated.
Yes, they took off from one place
Group
and
Captain
landed
Vinod,
safely on the other place.
Group Captain, but Vinod, it doesn't mean that it doesn't give the right for somebody to be intoxicated on a flight. I mean, they should be like, license should be cancelled immediately.
Absolutely not.
That's all I'm asking.
It will be. It is cancelled. In India, it is completely intoxicated. Means you're in flight is job is you're terminated from the job. There is no two ways about it. I mean, we don't take it lightly at all. In fact, most of the countries, pre-flight breath analyzer and post-flight from abroad breath analyzer is not there. It is random. But in India, it is mandatory. Every flight, before the flight, there is a breath analyzer test that India goes through, which is more stringent than anybody abroad, including United States, including UK, including Europe. So there, every pre-flight, there is no breath analyzer test. In India, we do it every flight. And every flight coming from abroad, we do. Every flight, without fail. Whereas abroad, it is again random. And here, the substance test, we do 10%, which is as per International Civil Aviation Authority, which we have to abide by norm. That post this may increase I'm just, guessing, that post this incident, that 10% may go to 20 or 25%. The problem is the result takes 24 to 48 hours to come, depending on what all substances you are going to test. Because there are now umpteen number, I don't even know the names, umpteen number of substances are there, and for that, test is different, Niranjan. For every substance, the test is different. Either some of the substance, the test is from the blood, and some of the substance, the test is from the urine.
I somehow, okay, I'll take you on the technical aspect of it, but I feel you're extremely lenient on the pilots. Even if one pilot is caught, testing positive, action should be taken immediately.
Not at all.
But anyway, we leave it at that. I mean, we can agree to disagree.
Absolutely.
I think that's
All of
completely
us.
fine. And I'll leave it at that. Look forward to speaking to you again. This is a report that we've accessed, ladies and gentlemen. It just shows you that there were 11 to 13, not 13, more than that. There were 16 hydraulic failures, 16 errors within minutes on the Air India 2379, the Phuket to Delhi flight, which dropped 300 foot. You're seeing the result of that. I mean, more than 20 people injured, and the investigation is on. This is the flight report. It tells you there's much more than what meets the eye. That's why you have a team from France coming down to also investigate what really happened on board midair. Back to you for now, Amrita.
Right. Thank you so much for breaking that down, Niranjan. And in fact, we will continue to track this story on Air India. And our viewers, we take a short break, but we'll be coming back with more on the other side coming up after a short break. Justice Yashwant Varma indicted in cash scandal case. Report says substantial cash was found in his official residence, and there has been no concrete and satisfactory explanation in that. Coming up next.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ।
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ स्वाद आया?
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
खुद अपनी आंखों के सामने लोगों को मरते शहीद होते देख के मैं आया हूँ। बहुत हालात ख़राब हो चुके हैं। इंटरनेशनल मीडिया को, सारी दुनिया को टैग करें और हम तक पहुंचाएं। यार इस वक्त यहाँ पे एम्बुलेंसेस की तादाद जो है वो कम पड़ गई है, गाड़ियाँ कम पड़ चुकी हैं। लोग जो है अपने जख्मियों को अपनी मदद आपके तहत, कोई इधर से पकड़ा हुआ को उधर से, और रोड्स पे लहू ही लहू है। लगातार फायरिंग जारी है। ऐसा लग रहा है कि हम फलस्तीन में हैं कसम से। इन्होंने वो हालत बनाई हुई है। फोर्सेस की फायरिंग से जो है ना इस वक्त बेशुमार नौजवान शहीद जख्मी हो चुके हैं और बेशुमार लोग शहीद हो चुके हैं। देख सकते हैं ये पाकिस्तानी फोर्सेस की बर्बरियत और जो है ना पाकिस्तानी फोर्सेस की फायरिंग से जो है ना ये देखें किस तरह नौजवानों को किस तरह स्ट्रेट फायर मारे जा रहे हैं नौजवानों को। ये देखें पाकिस्तानी फोर्सेस ने स्ट्रेट फायर किए नौजवानों पे। ये देखें लोग छोड़ो। हमारे बहुत सारे भाई जख्मी हो चुके हैं। अल्लाह की जात हमारे भाइयों की हिफाजत करे। अल्लाह की जात हमारे भाइयों की हिफाजत करे। क्या सूरत आली सूरत बहुत बुरी है। सबको मारे जा रहे लगातार। पिछले तक 3 बंदूकों हेडशॉट की इन्होंने की है। कुत्ती के बच्चों ने 15 से 20 लोग और बहुत सारे बंदूकों ने इनको जख्मी किया है। अल्लाहु अकबर। 15 से 20 नौजवानों को गोलियां लग चुकी है। कम से कम 15 से 20 नौजवानों को गोलियां लग चुकी है। बहुत सारे भाई हमारे जख्मी हो गए हैं भाई।
Air India pilot was stoned and flying. Why flying rules are a joke in India? India, the destination for disasters, debating tonight at 9 p.m.
Presented by Amity University, ranked amongst the top 3% universities globally. Berger Paints, Rang Bana Rahe. Powered by RP Sanjeev Goenka Group, growing legacies since 1820. Century HTF Premium Plus, Hare Boat ka asli boss. Co-powered by Muthoot Finance Gold Loan, Sona kya nahi kar sakta.
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
कुछ तो सस्ता लो,
सब बढ़िया लो।
इसमें क्या खास बात है?
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात।
यानी इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील टीएमटी से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील टीएमटी बार एकदम सॉलिड।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े।
चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
Umpteen number of times the Modi government also has taken resort to, whenever the bills have come where you need to take all stakeholders involved on board, and the government from the day one has said that insofar as FCRA is concerned, we can speak to anyone and everyone and convince them that this is not targeted at them. For example, the Home Minister himself has met not once, twice Christian delegations and told them
that it is not targeted at them, and that even if you look at it, the contributions to churches in the country or missionaries just about 15 or 17%. And I've spoken to people in the agencies, and they say that it's, our law also needs to be made compatible with, for example, the FATF.
Yes.
Likely, Niranjan, I can tell you that the bill might be brought in tomorrow and then referred to the JPC.
Okay, now this is turning out to be the tricky one, because we just had some more information that, for example, the Sharad Pawar faction of the NCP wants the bill to go to the JPC, not withdraw or against, but they're saying, okay, send it to the JPC. But they also need the support of Sharad Pawar's party for delimitation. Not sure about this session, but at least in the next, maybe they're testing the numbers. But it's turning out to be really tricky with the numbers. What's the game plan there?
Well, you see, so far as numbers for a legislation like FCRA is concerned, that's not a problem, Niranjan. It does not need a special majority, in the sense it does not need a constitutional majority. Now, delimitation obviously is a work in progress. The government has a certain deadline in mind, for sure. But remember, delimitation by its very nature, apart from needing a special majority in Parliament, in both the houses of Parliament separately, it also needs to be passed by more than half the number of states. So it's a long process. I don't think, as I understand it, and as I have been given to understand when I have checked, that FCRA is in any ways linked with delimitation, or is there a trade-off? Because FCRA is a very significant piece of legislation connected with national security and overall social harmony. And to that extent, I think the government is very clear. FCRA is independent. Bring it in, give it to the JPC, let the views be discussed, let all the stakeholders be involved, and pass it perhaps in the winter session of Parliament. But so far as delimitation is concerned, obviously it's a work in progress.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Republic. I'm Aditi Bhardwaj. The top story remains our focus is now after NEET, after Jharkhand, the concern is now shifting towards Punjab with paper leak accusations coming out. What are the courts saying about it? How in deep trouble is the Aam Aadmi Party government? We'll tell you more. But first up, let's take a look at the headlines. Republic accessed Air India maintenance post-flight report. Report reveals 11 warning messages were triggered in 120 seconds. Exclusive details of Air India mid-air scandal access. It's confirmed now that the pilot in command was under influence of drugs. Sources say co-pilot of Air India plane stabilized and landed Air India flight. Co-pilot informed ground crew about pilot in command's condition. Justice Yashwant Varma indicted in cash scandal case. Report says substantial unexplained 500 rupees notes found at Justice Varma's storeroom. No explanation given justified those cash. Republic accesses full 126-page report in Justice Yashwant Varma cash scandal. Report states judge failed to furnish explanation.
We are not interested in listening to Mr. Amit Shah's imagination. We are not interested in him giving us a lecture or a discussion.
Lok Sabha leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi says opposition not interested in listening to Home Minister's lecture inside Parliament.
मंत्री जी ने मुझे कॉपी दे करके स्पीकर साहब को लोकसभा में फिर से लेटर लिखा कि हम डिस्कशन के लिए बहुत खुले मन से, विस्तार से, डिटेल से डिस्कशन के लिए तैयार है.
Kiran Rijiju calls out Congress as Home Minister is ready for debate, yet Congress is running away from the parliament. Viewers, concerning times for students after Jharkhand now paper leak confirmed in Punjab with the Punjab High Court pulling up the government saying if there was paper leak, why didn't the government act in time? Why was the Aam Aadmi Party government, the Man government in Punjab sleeping on it? No certified action taken over it. Is this the reason why the Aam Aadmi Party is not visible in Jharkhand when students are protesting against paper leak in Jharkhand? Because their own house is shady, because they are themselves culprit of paper leak. These are some questions arising after the petition that was filed in the Punjab and Haryana High Court stating that there were several lapses. The cheating case inside the paper was at such a level that papers were scanned and papers were given out with answers coming in for the students. My colleague Lalit is joining me. Lalit, it has been now for days in news how the paper leak impacted the futures of many students there in Punjab. Tell us more about it.
It's a big jolt to the Aam Aadmi Party government in Punjab. Now, today the Punjab and Haryana High Court had stayed the pharmacy recruitment officer paper, which was held last month, that is on 19th July in the Baba Faridkot University in Batinda. So, it's a big jolt. If you talk about Aam Aadmi Party, has been number of times saying that it was not a paper of a matter of paper leak, but it was a case of cheating which took place last month, in which they promptly acted and around 26 persons were arrested immediately. But now this case was pending in the Punjab and Haryana High Court, and today in a big jolt to the Punjab government, now the pharmacy recruitment officer paper of pharmacy has been put on stay, and it's a big order which now the Aam Aadmi Party has to face. Apart from that, if we talk about from the past 3 to 4 weeks, there has been a lot of politics on that issue also, whereas the opposition, if we talk about whether it's the BJP, Akali Dal or the Congress, they have taken up this matter inside the monsoon session also. Apart from that, they have taken this matter in the roads also, whether it's the ABVP unit of Punjab or Chandigarh, they came on roads to address this issue. And finally today, in a big jolt to the Punjab, to the Aam Aadmi Party government, the Punjab and Haryana High Court have put the stay on the paper. If you talk about this whole paper, last month on 19th July, this paper took place for the 454 posts in which through the devices, that is the Bluetooth and the highly equipped devices, the paper was sent outside as claimed by the Aam Aadmi Party and the Punjab police. But when this matter came into highlight, it was immediately said that it was not a case of paper cheating, but it was a case matter of paper leak. So finally today the Punjab and Haryana High Court had put the stay on that paper.
Absolutely. This also raises concerns why the opposition was missing in action in Jharkhand. This is because the JMM, the Congress or the Aam Aadmi Party, they're all thick as thieves, and that's why one can't question the another, because it's happening in every opposition ruled state. The process is compromised, education system is compromised, and there is no accountability. They are running away from answers while the students are protesting, raising generous and genuine demands. The opposition is silent on it, but when it was about the center, the politics was out in the open. We will continue to track, but for now, thank you so much, Lalit. Shifting our focus to our biggest exclusive on the Air India story, Republic super exclusive, the entire Air India 300 feet drop explained why it happened. The report reveals stunning onboard failures by Air India maintenance. Remember, these are the details which are coming in after the 300 feet drop was visible, was reported in the Phuket to Delhi flight. The report accessed by your channel tells you how many warning signs were there. There were 13 to 11 messages that were triggered in just 120 seconds. So it was already there. The pilot had failed the dope test. These are the reports that are coming in. The Air India has failed to determine any genuine test done so far on the pilot. Why wasn't it there? These are the warning signs that we have for you. Look at these messages that were generated in just 120 seconds. We're also being joined by J. Venkateshwara Rao, former General Secretary, Air India cabin. Thank you so much, sir, for speaking to us. Tell us in, a layman's term, what these warnings mean for us. If I am sitting on a flight and I see the crew panicking out and, the flight is dropping 300 feet, what does it tell about the safety that is, up for toss now? There is no passenger safety that has been put in place by Air India. This was a complete failure by them.
See, the messages on the ICAS that have come out, which you are mentioning, these are all malfunctioning in the equipment on the aircraft. There was, in a span of that 120 or 140 seconds, there was 3 hydraulic failures, there were many other failures, there was a door warning, emergency door warning sign. So all these came on simultaneously. Then they needed attention, but however, the pilot, as we've heard, was not in a state of mind to address that. And the co-pilot took over and he done what he had to do. But then this only reflects the lapses that are taking place, and the DGCA is supposed to monitor the maintenance of the aircrafts. In fact, recently, I think you all had done a story where the MRO of Air India, the engineers were on strike because Air India was taking people on contract who had no experience. But then so be that as it may, what this factors in is that the pilot is there to take care of these emergencies. But if that is not done and the pilot is not in a state of mind to do his job, then it is a very unfortunate situation. That's all we can say. And yes, the passengers are worried, but then it is part of the aviation.
Right, and so, we have talked about the lapses that were there in this, operation of the flight. Let's talk about the solution that can be given now. What can the DGCA do? Shouldn't there be, I would say, a ban on consuming drugs if you're a pilot, if you're a co-pilot who are responsible for the safety of 300 passengers? I think the rules need to change. Air India should ban any kind of consuming of drugs or anything that will jeopardize the safety of so many passengers.
Ma'am, see, the company can only issue notices. But at the end of the day, it is for the pilot to decide that he should not be taking drugs, or if he's under the influence, he should not report for a flight. You see, that is there. You can ban many things, but that doesn't mean people will not do it. So where is the deterrent? There is no deterrent. What does the DGCA do? DGCA says, FAA follows this, EASA follows that. So we are following the same thing. But where does it say that you can't have stringent measures? Where does it say that you can't take stricter action than the other airlines?
Right.
Why should somebody be given a first chance and a second chance and a third chance to repeat the same offense?
Absolutely.
So that is what is being done. Have you seen any pilot either under the influence of alcohol or of anything ever being penalized? I have reports where the DGCA has said that pilots are fudging their medical reports. But what did the DGCA do? Nothing. So the DGCA, basically your problem lies with the DGCA. The regulator, if the regulator is not regulating, this is bound to happen.
Absolutely.
I was on another show where one of the gentlemen said, but we come from the public, so there will be a little bit of corruption. If the regulator says he is going to indulge in corruption, then I have nothing to say. Then there is nothing left to say. The regulator is supposed to be above board.
Absolutely, sir.
But then
Very
that is not
serious
happening.
point, raised by you. We don't need toothless organizations anymore in this country. 14 people sustained injuries, and if the DGCA is giving out such statements that, oh, we will, we can't do penalizing, we will de-roster you, but there should be a certain and a definite solution to this. I say pilots should be banned from consuming alcohol, consuming marijuana, or maybe some other solution that will ensure that if I sit on a plane next time, my pilot is not under some influence of some prescribed medicines or some alcohol that he consumed 2 days before.
No, I agree. Ma'am, like I said, you can place a ban, but it has to be followed by people. There has to be a regulatory authority to see that it is not being violated. Like I said, the regulator is complicit, the regulator is complicit. And I make these statements with full responsibility. I have exposed so many violations, but then the DGCA was sleeping over it. It is with the horse's blinkers. What do we do? There's nothing. Like today, the crew, in fact, the first officer and the crew, when they saw the captain in such a situation, they should have refused to operate the flight from Phuket itself. But that they haven't done that, so they are equally culpable for what has happened. They are my fraternity. I mean, I care for them. But then if they don't care for their own life, then what do we do? Let us say this aircraft had crashed today.
Absolutely.
Those crew would have lost their life because they kept quiet.
Absolutely.
So somebody
it was
needs
a suicide mission.
Yes, so you see, the thing is, we have introduced, the DGCA introduced a course called CRM, which is Crew Resource Management, where illegal instructions given by a higher authority need not be followed. But then who does it? Everybody is scared. You open your mouth, you're terminated. You open your mouth, you're suspended. You open your mouth, you're victimized. So that is how the system works. The DGCA is the most complicit and complicit regulator. That is all I can say.
Sir, very valid points raised by you. Time for no toothless organization to function, time for more stricter punishment, time for reviewing of DGCA's functioning, time for Air India to be held accountable till the top position, I would say. Not just this de-rostering of the pilot or reviewing if there was a dope test done probably in a right manner or a wrong manner. But I would say if there are so many lapses coming in, 300 feet the plane is going down, 14 passengers, 17 passengers sustaining injuries, you can't silence them just by compensation, just by telling them that we have de-rostered the pilots. And this is happening after we saw Air India crashing in Gujarat, where several of them died. One lucky passenger got away. This time, it could have been worse. It was a suicide mission. And I would say time is up for DGCA, for Aviation Ministry as well. Mr. Ramon Naidu, if you are also watching this broadcast, we will ask you to get the biggest proposal out there to review all the safety standards. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. We have more breaking inputs coming in. A major panic unfolded on board a Delhi to Pune SpiceJet flight. We are also giving you more details, I beg your pardon, on the same story. We have Air India pilot took cabin crew to party during Phuket layover. Okay, more chilling details are coming in, viewers, right now. The Phuket to Delhi flight, why did that 300 feet drop happen? It happened because Air India pilot took cabin crew to party during the layover in Phuket. Crew member allegedly complained of pilot smoking pot on aircraft. The Air India pilot did this before the flight was supposed to take over. In less than 24 hours, the marijuana or drugs were consumed by the pilot. And then the pilot had reportedly reprimanded the cabin crew member after she struggled to handle the pilot's seat when asked to occupy it while he briefly went to the bathroom. These are the chilling details, and we also have Venkateshwara Rao still with us. Sir, we were discussing about what is wrong with pilot. Now we have more chilling and surprising details coming in. There's a party that is happening. Pilot is going to a party, smoking pot, and he then has to fly over that Phuket to Delhi flight. But look at the callousness or the seriousness of the pilot or the cabin crew themselves. I think the whole cabin crew is responsible over here, not just the pilot or the co-pilot. And the co-pilot, very bravely of him, he managed to land the flight safely.
Madam, I would simply say test everybody for the dope test. Take even the cabin crew, and if they are they have consumed the substance, then they will have to face the heat and the flux. You can't be doing something like that. And this is the biggest problem, where the younger generation is not understanding what their responsibility is. We have to, what you're telling us now is much more chilling, because if the crew knew they went to the party, if the crew knew that the pilot was taking some intoxicant which he's not supposed to take, then what is left to say now? यानी यहाँ दाल काला नहीं है पूरा, दाल में काला नहीं है पूरा दाल ही काला है, तो फिर हम करें क्या? We have to take this with a pinch of salt. And this is where I'm saying, no, madam, everybody has to pull up their socks. We are in the aviation industry. What stops them from conducting say, biannual or triannual dope testing on all the crew? Idhar kya ho jata hai? Then they come and say, oh, there is money involved, the company has to pay money. Why is the regulator worried about the company spending money? The regulator should be worried to see that the crew who come on board the aircraft are clean. Simple.
Sir, why are you making valid points? My reporter who has managed to access this is also joining us. Harsh, this is as surprising as it can be, and I think right now we are on the spot where it is not surprising at all for us. This is what we've been talking about, that the pilot was impaired when he was trying to fly. Tell us more about this party that he was enjoying before taking over the flight.
Right, Aditi, now this is very shocking, because we are now learning that the pilot in fact took the crew of the aircraft to party in Phuket. Now this was just a 24-hour long layover in Phuket, when all of these guys, including pilot and the entire crew of the aircraft, went out to party. Now what sources tell us is that this pilot earlier reprimanded one of the crew member who in fact failed to occupy the seat of the pilot when he went out to use the loo. This was during the flight that was traveling from Delhi to Phuket, and to compensate that, he in fact invited all of these crew members to party, and all of these crew members went out to party with him in Phuket. Now Phuket was just a 24-hour long layover for all of these crew members who were in fact traveling all the way from Delhi to Phuket. And what we are also learning is that we earlier broke this on Republic TV, that there are several crew members who have in fact now lodged a formal complaint with the airline. We are now learning that at least one of these crew members have clearly mentioned that the pilot was smoking pot on the aircraft. This is very shocking, and this is getting very shocking with every passing detail that we are getting. And this is that we are learning is that at least one of the crew members who have now in fact lodged a complaint with the airline itself have clearly mentioned that the pilot was consuming, in fact was smoking pot on board the aircraft that was in fact traveling from Phuket to Delhi, and that eventually witnessed a 300 feet free fall mid-air that at least injured 17 people on board, including 4 crew members.
Right, thank you so much, Harsh, for those details, and keep tracking this story as it is getting as chilling as possible. Safety is in danger on air. In mid-air, the crisis is only spiraling, and we will be ahead on every detail that is coming out on this Air India mid-air horror. Don't go anywhere. We will tell you more details of what exactly was happening in the cockpit when that 300 feet drop happened in the Phuket to Delhi flight.
कुछ तो सस्ता लो,
सब बढ़िया लो,
इसमें क्या खास बात है?
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात।
Amity has been ranked India's #1 not-for-profit private university for 11th year, with top 10 ranked institutions in management, engineering, biotech, law, masscom, telecom, hospitality, fashion and more. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ।
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े।
चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
AU सेविंग्स अकाउंट में मिलते हैं अमेजिंग बेनिफिट्स, पेपरलेस बैंकिंग एंड हायर इंटरेस्ट, वो भी हर महीने।
मनी 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 एवरी मंथ।
सोच बदलो और बैंक भी।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरीडे।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट।
स्वाद बढ़ाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और फरसान, अरे चंकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
हनी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता, उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ,
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है, सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
Electricity bill paid.
Really?
Your mobile recharge is done.
How?
Make all kinds of payments using the Bheem Payments app and get cashback of up to ₹300 every month. Use Bheem app to pay.
It's the Mahi way.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ।
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ स्वाद आया? आया।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
कुछ तो सस्ता लो,
सब बढ़िया लो।
इसमें क्या खास बात है?
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात।
खुद अपनी आंखों के सामने लोगों को मरते शहीद होते देख के मैं आया हूँ। बहुत हालात ख़राब हो चुके हैं, बहुत हालात ख़राब हो चुके हैं। इंटरनेशनल मीडिया को, सारी दुनिया को टैग करें और हम तक पहुँचाएं यार। इस वक्त यहाँ पे एम्बुलेंसेस की तादाद जो है वो कम पड़ गई है, गाड़ियाँ कम पड़ चुकी हैं। लोग जो है अपने ज़ख्मियों को अपनी मदद आपके तहत, कोई इधर से पकड़ा हुआ को उधर से, और रोड पे लहू ही लहू है।
लगातार फायरिंग जारी है। ऐसा लग रहा है कि हम फलस्तीन में हैं, कसम से इन्होंने वो हालत बनाई हुई है। खाली करेगा, खाली करो, खाली करो। फोर्सेस की फायरिंग से जो है ना, इस वक्त बेशुमार नौजवान शहीद जख्मी हो चुके हैं और बेशुमार लोग शहीद हो चुके हैं। देख सकते हैं ये पाकिस्तानी फोर्सेस की बर्बरियत और जो है ना पाकिस्तानी फोर्सेस की फायरिंग से जो है ना, ये देखें किस तरह नौजवानों को, किस तरह स्ट्रेट फायर मारे जा रहे हैं नौजवानों को। ये देखें पाकिस्तानी फोर्सेस ने स्ट्रेट फायर किए नौजवानों पे। ये देखें लोग, रास्ता छोड़ो।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ।
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ स्वाद आया? आया।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
AU करंट अकाउंट के साथ मिलता है फ्री UPI QR ओवरड्राफ्ट फैसिलिटी और एक ही ऐप से बैंक के सारे काम। AU
सोच बदलो और बैंक भी।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरीडे।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ।
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े।
चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
रानी इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील टीएमटी से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील टीएमटी बार एकदम सॉलिड।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
Electricity bill paid.
Really?
Your mobile recharge is done.
How?
Make all kinds of payments using the Bheem Payments app and get cashback of up to ₹300 every month. Use Bheem app to pay.
It's the Mahi way.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट।
स्वाद बनाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और फरसान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
कुछ तो सस्ता लो,
सब बढ़िया लो।
इसमें क्या खास बात है?
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात।
Umpteen number of times the Modi government also has taken resort to, whenever the bills have come where you need to take all stakeholders involved on board, and the government from the day one has said that insofar as FCRA is concerned, we can speak to anyone and everyone and convince them that this is not targeted at them. For example, the Home Minister himself has met not once, twice Christian delegations and told them that it is not targeted at them, and that even if you look at it, the contributions to church or churches in the country or missionaries just about 15 or 17%. And I have spoken to people in the agencies and they say that it's, our law also needs to be made compatible with, for example, the FATF. Yes. Likely, Niranjan, I can tell you that the bill might be brought in tomorrow and then referred to the JPC.
Okay, now this is turning out to be the tricky one because we just had some more information that, for example, the Sharad Pawar faction of the NCP wants the bill to go to the JPC, not withdraw or against, but they're saying, okay, send it to the JPC. But they also need the support of Sharad Pawar's party for delimitation. Not sure about this session, but at least in the next, maybe they're testing the numbers. But it's turning out to be really tricky with the numbers. What's the game plan there?
Well, you see, so far as numbers for a legislation like FCRA is concerned, that's not a problem, Niranjan. It does not need a special majority, in the sense it does not need a constitutional majority. Now, delimitation obviously is a work in progress. The government has a certain deadline in mind, for sure. But remember, delimitation by its very nature, apart from needing a special majority in parliament, in both the houses of parliament separately, it also needs to be passed by more than half the number of states. So,
from Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Hi there, good evening. Welcome to this edition of our Global, in which we discuss Donald Trump's renewed comments about a possible third term, despite the constitutional limit on serving more than 2. Then we move to the next one. We look at Vladimir Putin's warning over rising tensions in the Asia-Pacific and Russia's response to what it calls growing threats. And finally, Portuguese football star Cristiano Ronaldo weds longtime girlfriend Georgina Rodriguez in a private ceremony. All that and more, let's begin with the headlines. Putin warns of rising tensions in Asia-Pacific, accuses NATO of expanding its regional presence, and warns Moscow could respond to seizure of Russian vessels. Trump says he would love to run in 2028, but acknowledges the Constitution stands in the way of a third presidential term. Severe storms unleashed tornado warnings, flooding and widespread power outages across Ohio in the United States. One person dies after emergency crews are unable to reach them. Passenger ferry
Putri Yasmin catches fire off Bali in Indonesia. More than 100 people rescued as rough seas complicate the evacuation. Cristiano Ronaldo and longtime partner Georgina Rodriguez marry in private Portugal ceremony. Couple ties the knot after nearly a decade together. All right. US President Donald Trump has once again raised the prospects of a third term, saying he would love to run in 2028, but acknowledging that the law stands in his way. The 22nd Amendment bars anyone from being elected president more than twice. Trump, elected in 2016 and again in 2024, would therefore be constitutionally barred from a third elected term under the current rules. But his comments might make J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio wonder what's happening.
Donald Trump has once again fueled speculation over a possible 2028 presidential run, admitting that he would love to run for a third term. But the US president also acknowledged the biggest hurdle standing his way, the Constitution. Trump was asked directly whether his repeated references to 2028 and the Trump 2028 merchandise were a serious indication of another campaign. Trump says he is being urged to run again by supporters, but concedes the law is a major barrier.
Everybody asks me that question, and you know that the law is very strong on that. I'd love to run, but the law is very strong. I get asked by even tonight they're screaming at the event, 2028. No, everybody wants me to do it, but the law is very strong. Thank you very much, everybody.
Under the 22nd Amendment, no person can be elected US president more than twice. Trump was elected in 2016 and again in 2024, meaning a third elected term in 2028 is barred under the current constitution. Changing that limit would require a constitutional amendment, a hugely difficult political and legal process. But for now, Trump has not outlined any plan to change or bypass the constitutional restrictions.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has warned of rising tensions in the Asia-Pacific during a visit to the missile cruiser Varyag. He accused NATO of expanding its presence in the region and condemned the seizure of Russian commercial vessels, warning Moscow could respond in kind. Putin also said Russia poses no threat to Japan, while criticizing its claims over the Kuril Islands.
Russian President Vladimir Putin visited the missile cruiser Varyag in Yuzhno-Sakhalinsk on Wednesday as the warship takes part in a naval exercise in the Pacific. Putin boarded the Varyag and met servicemen before entering the vessel's control room and meeting Pacific Fleet Commander Viktor Lina. Speaking during the visit, Putin warned that the potential for conflict is growing in the Asia-Pacific region, accusing NATO of expanding its presence there.
Мы видим, что здесь растет, к сожалению, конфликтный потенциал. Сюда просачивается НАТО, создаются новые военно-политические блоки. Здесь размещаются и планируется размещение новой системы оружия, которые создают угрозы и для нашей страны.
He said new military political blocs and weapon systems are being deployed in the region, which Moscow views as a threat to Russia. Putin also addressed tensions with Japan, saying Russia poses no threat to the country and has no territorial claims against it, while pointing to Japan's claims over the Kuril Islands.
Хотел бы отметить, что мы не угрожаем Японии. У нас нет к ней абсолютно никаких претензий. Напротив, у Японии есть территориальные претензии к нашей стране. Имею в виду проблему Курильских островов.
The Russian president further accused some countries of restricting the movement of Russian commercial vessels and seizing their assets, calling the actions piracy and lawlessness.
Мы видим, что власти некоторых стран в нарушении международного морского права пытаются ограничить движение судов наших эконом-операторов. Мирно, подчеркну. а недавно додумались до возможности захвата наших судов и продажи награбленного у нас имущества.
Putin warned that if such plans are implemented, Russia would respond in kind wherever it considers such action necessary and reasonable.
Meanwhile, a Russian overnight attack has damaged civilian sites in Ukraine, with fires breaking out in Zaporizhia and Odessa. In Zaporizhia, emergency crews battled a blaze at a shopping mall, leaving the building heavily damaged. In Odessa, an apartment on the 5th floor of a residential building caught fire.
A Russian overnight attack has damaged civilian sites in Ukraine, with fires reported in Zaporizhia and Odessa. In Zaporizhia, emergency crews battled a blaze at a shopping mall following the attack. Video from the scene shows firefighters working to contain flames inside the damaged building. The shopping mall was left heavily damaged, with debris scattered around the site as crews continued their response. In Odessa, another attack sparked a fire inside an apartment on the 5th floor of a residential building. Emergency workers were seen inspecting the damage inside the apartment and responding to the fire. Local authorities said no one was injured in the Odessa incident.
Moving on, severe storms have battered Ohio, bringing tornado warnings, torrential rain and dangerous flooding in the United States. More than 290,000 power outages were reported across the state, while flooded roads cut off communities. One person died after emergency responders were unable to reach them during a medical emergency. With more storms forecast, Governor Mike DeWine has declared emergencies in 2 counties and warned residents the danger is far from over.
Severe storms have unleashed chaos across Ohio, with tornado warnings, torrential rain and dangerous flooding gripping the state. More than 500,000 people were left without power across the Chicago area and northwestern Indiana, while Ohio saw more than 290,000 outages. In Roseville, floodwaters cut off the village, leaving just one road accessible.
Of course, the most recent news is that in Fayette County, Greene County, Clark County, there is an active tornado warning right now. So that is, I'm sure, already been reported. We are in a very dangerous weather situation that really involves all of Ohio. It is unusual to see this, but danger can be anywhere in the state. And it's not something that's going to end tonight. We're going to get hit again with another storm later tonight, and the odds are that we're going to have continuous problems with flooding for the next several days at least.
One person died after first responders could not reach them during a medical emergency because of flooded roads.
I am signing a proclamation declaration of emergency for Perry County as well as Muskingum County. However, I anticipate that we will be adding counties to that list, and we will do so when that is necessary. We have a very serious situation in Crooksville and in Roseville. Crooksville is in Perry County, Roseville is in primarily Muskingum County. Sadly, we have had one fatality in Roseville, one fatality that we're aware of. This was an individual who died simply because they had an emergency and they could not get to that individual.
Governor Mike DeWine warned the danger is far from over, with more storms and flooding expected in the coming days.
The storm is now in the Dayton area. It's estimated that when the storm comes through your area, it will last about 2 hours. The most dangerous part will be early, but danger can certainly continue. So it's not going to just blow right through. It's going to be something that's going to be with you for at least several hours. So by 4 p.m. roughly, it's going to hit Columbus. It's in Dayton now, moving towards Columbus, looking to get to the Cincinnati area around 5 o'clock as well.
Officials are urging residents in vulnerable areas to evacuate as repeated rounds of severe weather continue to threaten communities across the Ohio Valley.
A passenger ferry caught fire off Indonesia's Bali island, triggering a major rescue operation in the rough seas. The boat named Putri Yasmin was sailing from Bali towards Lombok when flames broke out early in the morning. Thick smoke engulfed the vessel as passengers scrambled to safety. More than 100 people have been rescued while others were evacuated as high waves complicated the operation.
A massive rescue operation is underway off Indonesia's Bali after a passenger ferry erupted into flames in the middle of rough seas. The Putri Yasmin ferry was traveling from Bali's Padang Bai port towards Lembar when the fire broke out around 4:15 in the morning. Thick smoke engulfed the vessel as passengers and crew scrambled for safety. Rescuers and passing vessels managed to pull 106 people to safety, but 25 others were still being evacuated from the burning vessel. While the high waves battered the area, making it extremely difficult for rescue boats to reach the ferry and evacuate the remaining ones safely.
Aksi yaitu pada 6.30 kami menggerakkan satu buah kapal milik Basarnas seperti 220 menuju ke LKP. Selanjutnya kami juga berkoordinasi dengan instansi terkait dalam pada TNI Angkatan Laut, Direktorat Polair untuk sama-sama bergerak menuju ke lokasi kejadian kapal.
The ferry was carrying 114 passengers and 17 crew members, along with dozens of vehicles and motorcycles. Indonesia relies heavily on ferries to connect its more than 17,000 islands. But maritime disasters remain a recurring concern, with safety enforcement often under scrutiny.
Football superstar Cristiano Ronaldo and his longtime partner Georgina Rodriguez are now married. The couple tied the knot in a private ceremony in Portugal after nearly a decade together, with their 5 children and close family reportedly in attendance. Ronaldo confirmed the news with a simple wedding ring photo on Instagram, marking a new chapter for one of the world's most famous celebrity couples.
Football superstar Cristiano Ronaldo has married his longtime partner Georgina Rodriguez in a private ceremony in Cascais, Portugal. The couple, together for nearly a decade, tied the knot on August 11th, surrounded by their 5 children and close family. Ronaldo appeared to confirm the wedding with a simple Instagram post showing their wedding rings and the caption. The wedding came exactly 1 year after Georgina announced their engagement with a large diamond ring. The couple first met in 2016, where Georgina was working at a Gucci store in Madrid.
Right in between, a breaking news development coming in from the east. North Korea has fired a suspected ballistic missile towards the sea on Wednesday. That's early in the morning, and that's days before US-South Korea military drills begin. That happens on August 17th. Japan has said that the missile did not reach its exclusive economic zone, but the launch comes amid Pyongyang's continued expansion of its nuclear and missile capabilities. North Korea firing a ballistic missile days before US-South Korea carry out their joint military exercise in the same region, sending across a message. All right, moving out. All right, reports coming out of Balochistan claim that Pakistani military fighter jets carried out air strikes in civilian residential areas of the province in an overnight operation. At least 27 were killed, including women and children, while several others were reportedly injured. The strikes said to have caused extensive damage to home and civilian property. That comes just a day after Balochistan, or some pockets of Balochistan, marked their Independence Day.
Pakistani fighter jets carried out airstrikes on civilian homes in the Sorab and Gwadar areas of Balochistan last night. According to reports, 27 people are killed, including women and children, while injuring many others. According to reports, Pakistani military fighter jets carried out airstrikes on civilian areas in the Gidar area of Sorab district in Balochistan last night. According to sources, the airstrikes also caused heavy human and material damage to civilian areas. The extent of the damage and the exact number of casualties have not yet been released. The bodies of those killed were reportedly taken into custody by security forces. The reported strikes are also said to have caused extensive damage to the homes and other civilian property. The allegations come amid continuing unrest and militant activity in Balochistan, a province that has witnessed repeated clashes between separatist groups and Pakistani security forces.
Around the world, but this is all we could pack for you in 20 minutes. Short break coming up on the other side. Live and breaking at 7 p.m. with Niranjan.
Powered by Crystal Crop Protection, देश का किसान, देश का हीरो।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ, स्वाद आया? आया।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
Amity has been ranked India's #1 not-for-profit private university for 11th year, with top 10 ranked institutions in management, engineering, biotech, law, masscom, telecom, hospitality, fashion and more. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
Our pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
Electricity bill paid.
Really?
Your mobile recharge is done.
How?
Make all kinds of payments using the Bheem Payments app and get cashback of up to ₹300 every month. Use Bheem app to pay.
It's the Mahi way.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े।
चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील टीएमटी से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील टीएमटी बार एकदम सॉलिड।
कुछ तो सस्ता लो,
सब बढ़िया लो।
इसमें क्या खास बात है?
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात।
AU सेविंग्स अकाउंट में मिलते हैं अमेजिंग बेनिफिट्स, पेपरलेस बैंकिंग एंड हायर इंटरेस्ट, वो भी हर महीने।
मनी 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 एवरी मंथ।
सोच बदलो और बैंक भी।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट,
स्वाद बढ़ाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और फरसान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
Our pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
खुद अपनी आंखों के सामने लोगों को मरते शहीद होते देख के मैं आया हूँ। बहुत हालात ख़राब हो चुके हैं, बहुत हालात ख़राब हो चुके हैं। इंटरनेशनल मीडिया को, सारी दुनिया को टैग करें और हम तक पहुँचाएं यार। इस वक्त यहाँ पे एम्बुलेंसेस की तादाद जो है वो कम पड़ गई है, गाड़ियाँ कम पड़ चुकी हैं। लोग जो है अपने ज़ख्मियों को अपनी मदद आपके तहत कोई इधर से पकड़ा हुआ को उधर से, और रोड्स पे लहू ही लहू है। ऐसा लग रहा है कि हम फलस्तीन में हैं, कसम से इन्होंने वो हालत बनाई हुई है। खाली करो, खाली करो, खाली करो। फोर्सेस की फायरिंग से जो है ना इस वक्त बेशुमार नौजवान शहीद जख्मी हो चुके हैं और बेशुमार लोग शहीद हो चुके हैं। देख सकते हैं ये पाकिस्तानी फोर्सेस की बर्बरियत और जो है ना पाकिस्तानी फोर्सेस की फायरिंग से जो है ना, ये देखें किस तरह नौजवानों को, किस तरह स्ट्रेट फायर मारे जा रहे हैं नौजवानों को। ये देखें पाकिस्तानी फोर्सेस ने स्ट्रेट फायर किया नौजवानों को। ये देखें लोग, रास्ता छोड़ो। हमारे बहुत सारे भाई जख्मी हो चुके हैं। अल्लाह की जात हमारे भाइयों की हिफाजत करे, अल्लाह की जात हमारे भाइयों की हिफाजत करे। क्या सूरत आली, सूरत बहुत बुरी है, सबको मारी जा रही लगातार। इसके अंदर 3 बंदूकों हेडशॉट किन्होंने किया, कुत्ती के बच्चों ने 15 से 20 लोग।
Air India pilot was stoned and flying. Why flying rules are a joke in India? India, the destination for disasters, debating tonight at 9 p.m.
Presented by Amity University, ranked amongst the top 3% universities globally. Berger Paints, Rang Bana Rahe. Powered by RP Sanjeev Goenka Group, growing legacies since 1820. Century HTF Premium Plus, हरे बोट का असली बॉस. Co-powered by Muthoot Finance Gold Loan, सोना क्या नहीं कर सकता. Co-powered by Crystal Crop Protection, देश का किसान, देश का हीरो.
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे. केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ.
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार. विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट. ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े.
चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े.
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट.
Electricity bill paid.
Really?
Your mobile recharge is done.
How?
Make all kinds of payments using the Bheem Payments app and get cashback of up to rupees 300 every month. Use Bheem app to pay.
It's the Mahi way.
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो, मिलाओ और खाओ.
8 मिनट में तैयार.
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट. अब बताओ स्वाद आया? आया.
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट.
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं.
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा. रुंगटा स्टील टीएमटी से बना.
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं. रुंगटा स्टील टीएमटी बार एकदम सॉलिड.
कुछ तो सस्ता लो,
सब बढ़िया लो.
इसमें क्या खास बात है?
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात.
AU करंट अकाउंट के साथ मिलता है फ्री UPI QR ओवरड्राफ्ट फैसिलिटी और एक ही ऐप से बैंक के सारे काम. AU
सोच बदलो और बैंक भी.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट. ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े.
चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े.
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट.
umpteen number of times the Modi government also has taken resort to, whenever the bills have come where you need to take all stakeholders involved on board, and the government from the day one has said that insofar as FCRA is concerned, we can speak to anyone and everyone and convince them that this is not targeted at them. For example, the Home Minister himself has met not once, twice Christian delegations and told them that it is not targeted at them, and that even if you look at it, the contributions to church or churches in the country or missionaries just about 15 or 17%. And I have spoken to people in the agencies and they say that it's, our law also needs to be made compatible with, for example, the FATF. Yes. Likely, Niranjan, I can tell you that the bill might be brought in tomorrow and then referred to the JPC. Okay, now this is turning out to be the tricky one because we just had some more information that, for example, the Sharad Pawar faction of the NCP wants the bill to go to the JPC, not withdraw or against, but they're saying, okay, send it to the JPC. But they also need the support of Sharad Pawar's party for delimitation. Not sure about this session, but at least in the next, maybe they're testing the numbers. But it's turning out to be really tricky with the numbers. What's the game plan there? Well, you see, so far as numbers for a legislation like FCRA is concerned, that's not a problem, Niranjan. It does not need a special majority, in the sense it does not need a constitutional majority. Now, delimitation obviously is a work in progress. The government has a certain deadline in mind, for sure. But remember, delimitation by its very nature, apart from needing a special majority in Parliament, in both the houses of Parliament separately, it also needs to be passed by more than half the number of states. So it's a long process. I don't think, as I understand it, and as I have been given to understand when I have checked, that FCRA is in any ways linked with delimitation, or is there a trade-off? Because FCRA is a very significant piece of legislation connected with national security and overall social harmony. And to that extent, I think the government is very clear. FCRA is independent. Bring it in, give it to the JPC, let the views be discussed, let all the stakeholders be involved, and pass it perhaps in the winter session of Parliament. But so far as delimitation is concerned, obviously it's a work in progress. The government is slowly inching towards that special majority, and hopefully once it's clear that this is happening, it will come in. Okay, so Abhishek, you had at the beginning of this Parliament session, you had the CJP protest. You had attempts made to stop.
Wanted Shah to respond, now runs from it. Congress escapes from Amit Shah's response. Amit Shah dares opposition to let debate happen. Debating tonight at 8 p.m.
Presenting by Zoho Business Software, trusted by 15 crore users. Berger Paints, Rang Bana Rahe. Powered by Century HTF Premium Plus, Hare Boat Ka Asli Boss.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Thank you for joining us on This Is Exclusive. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a very scary feeling to be on a flight and then your flight drops 300 feet mid-air when you're traveling from another country back to India, and then you find out that the pilot who was in command of your flight was consuming drugs, and he was partying just before your flight. He was consuming drugs, he was indisposed, and he was in no position to fly your plane. Now, all of these details are coming out, and we have accessed some more details of what went wrong on the Air India 2379 flight, which dropped 300 feet and over 20 people were injured. That and more coming up in the next few minutes. Here are the headlines. Republic accesses the Air India maintenance post-flight report of AI 2379, the plane from Phuket to Delhi. It shows there were at least 16 warning messages, error messages in a few minutes. when the incident took place. It's now confirmed that the pilot was drugged out. He had consumed marijuana. Even the cabin crew had complained about him. They had seen him consuming drugs. It's now also confirmed that the co-pilot landed the plane because the pilot in command was in no position to fly. He was high on drugs. The pilot in question of Air India 2379 Phuket to Delhi flight was partying in Phuket during the layover. Less than 24 hours layover and he was partying, and then he took the flight. He was in no position to fly. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have some very serious questions on passenger safety and cockpit discipline. New details have emerged in the last 24 hours about the Air India Phuket to Delhi mid-air scare that took place on the 4th of August. Republic has accessed the post-flight report of Air India AI 2379 that was carrying 137 passengers and 8 crew members. It fell 300 feet. It dropped 300 feet altitude, leaving over 20 passengers, 4 crew members injured. The pilot in command has failed 2 drug tests. It appears now, it's confirmed that he was under the influence of marijuana. He had consumed marijuana, he had consumed drugs. That's now a positive. Sources claim that after the landing, the pilot, not after the landing, in fact before the landing, he was unable to stand straight. And the co-pilot had to take charge and land the plane eventually. Now, we have with us this evening this report that I have in my hand. Now, this is the post-flight report. I'd like to put the report up on the screen and I'll try and explain to you what we have accessed in terms of this report and what this means. Let's put out the graphics, please. We have the graphics of the AI 2379 report. I'm going to walk to this wall now, this LED wall. And this wall has a representation of the report that I have in my hand. Take a look at this report. Now, this is a post-flight report, the maintenance post-flight report of the flight in question, AI 2379. And what this report, what the single sheet shows is all the warning signs, the warning maintenance status messages that were triggered immediately after the drop. You have here, this is GMT, the timing at which all of this was reported. It's recorded in GMT. It's on your screen right now. In about 10 to 12 minutes, these are the different warning signs that were triggered. Hydraulic system lower, hydraulic systems, at least 12 or 13 of them were triggered. Low pressure hydraulic system, hydraulic blue and yellow system low pressure, hydraulic green and blue system low pressure. The auto flight, the autopilot was triggered off. It was disconnected at least twice, and that is very clear from this report that we have accessed, details of which we are putting out. The flight control left and right elevator fault was detected, also triggered on the flight. The hydraulic green and yellow systems low pressure detected. Hydraulic green systems low pressure detected. Hydraulic yellow reservoir low level. Hydraulic blue reservoir low level. And all of this was happening in a few seconds. And then you had the door rear forward emergency exit warning message also triggered a few seconds after the drop. And another emergency exit also triggered a warning. Now, what are all these warning signs? These were signs of hydraulic failure. Hydraulic failure happened in a few seconds on board the Airbus A320. Now, we don't know whether it was a drop that was triggered by human error, a drop that was triggered due to turbulence alone, or something more, or something that was wrong on the Airbus that triggered the drop in the first place. Now, of course, all of this is in the realm of investigation. Captain Minu Wadia is joining us on the broadcast. Captain Minu Wadia, can you help our viewers understand what these hydraulic failures are? Between 402 and 405, there are at least 11
hydraulic failures detected. Now, what was going on, sir? Is this triggered after the fall, or did this failure trigger the fall?
No, both these aspects are of two separate issues. First, let us refer to the pilot, what happened. Suppose this aircraft had landed safely and both pilots were absolutely okay, etc. But the very fact that what we've been hearing in piecemeal, every minute you are hearing some fresh news about the pilot having consumed marijuana, etc. Let me make it very clear to everyone. In any case, if any pilot is not in a condition to fly and be totally 100% fit to operate the flight, he is responsible for the safety of the aircraft and all its passengers. He cannot fly if he is unfit to start with. And there are various parameters which confirm to ensure this happens. First of all, the pilot himself is responsible for this. Secondly, there are his seniors, the Air India staff. There are people the doctors who do some tests, etc. before each flight. Then there are DGCA. When the doctor does the flights, the report goes to Air India as well as to DGCA. So first of all, if there's any lacuna on the fact the pilot was not 100% fit, then stringent action needs to be taken. Now, what action, how action needs to be resolved by an independent board. Someone should there is so much evidence available to us today. He was partying in the evening, the crew was there and they were smoking marijuana. These are all piecemeal information that we are getting. Let someone with authority do a proper investigation, and even if the flight was totally safe and landed safely without losing 300 feet, it's immaterial. If the pilot was not fit to fly, he was not supposed to be in the aircraft at all to start with. So that is a given thing to start with. Then what you're asking about the failures. See, it is possible that his failures could have happened before the drop of 300 feet. As I understand it, most things are not very clear because the evidence is very confusing. For example, independently, if an autopilot trips on the aircraft, it is no major deal. You get a warning and the pilot re-engages the autopilot and there's no issue at all. Now, if various other parameters happen, these hydraulic systems are totally independent of each other. And when you're giving us the evidence, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. How is it that possible that various hydraulic systems have failed simultaneously? What has caused it? So again, an investigation has to be done on this aspect. And yes, it is possible again, with very little knowledge that we have or little data that we have, it is possible that the warnings have happened and a stall warning has happened. That means the aircraft speed is low and the co-pilot who was handling the controls may have felt the aircraft would have stalled. So he's pushed the stick forward down, and therefore you have negative G in the aircraft, and passengers have been thrown to the ceiling, and the pilot also has been thrown to the ceiling, and the injuries have happened. But let us not jump to conclusions without doing a proper inquiry. This is what I am telling you today is with the very limited information which is available on the media today. So, and what I'm not at all in any doubt, if there's any breach of aviation safety, the stringent action needs to be taken in any case.
Yeah. Sir, I want to tell you one thing with complete responsibility, Captain Minuvadia. I have the name of the pilot. Okay. I'm not just putting that out because I'm doing a couple of checks. Okay. This pilot has had a prior incident. There was another incident at a flying school. I have the details of that as well. I'm waiting for some confirmation before I put that out, perhaps in a few hours from now. But that said, my question to you, sir, is also about this lenient DGCA, which appears to have zero seriousness about the situation we are faced with. For example, you have first somebody's caught drinking intoxicated first time. They get a chance to do another test. Then there is a strike 2. They get 3 months suspension of the license, and then there's a strike 3. There's a 3-week suspension first, and then a 3-month suspension. I mean, the leniency, sir, I don't know. If I'm not wrong, I think it's 3 months and 3 years. Is that correct? 3 months, 3 years, and then permanent cancellation. Is that correct, sir? Captain Minuvadia?
It is correct, but who takes the decision on this? The DGCA.
Yes.
The DGCA controls the license to start with. See, in DGCA, there have been very few people who are qualified aviators. Essentially, the DGCA is run by bureaucrats. Let me now, as you've said, I'm the founder, president of the Federation of Indian Pilots. Why did I start this organization in the first place? When this organization was started, I have come from the Air Force, from a very disciplined environment, and coming to a chaotic situation in the civil area. And I found out when people were abusing the DGCA, I was saying, why are we blaming the DGCA? I went and checked up. There was not a single aviator in the whole office of the DGCA. It was only and only bureaucrats. Can you have that situation? That is why this Federation of Indian Pilots was started. It's a professional body for improving aviation safety and standards. And today I have no leniency for any breach of rules, any breach of by any pilot or anyone. For example, if it's an engineer or ATC person, etc. And the DGCA, today we are not pointing one finger at the DGCA. I can have 50 fingers pointing at the DGCA and give you 50 examples where the DGCA has, in fact, I would say they are an impediment to aviation safety in India and not looking after aviation safety. And I have enough evidence. And if someone can sue me for defamation, will be very happy to face the court.
No, it's crazy, sir, because I want to bring in my reporter as well here, Harsh, who's been tracking the story. Ishan is also tracking the story. Harsh, because we find out it's crazy. I mean, from what we know so far, there is a pilot. He's the pilot in command, lands in Phuket. During a layover, he takes this cabin crew to a party in Phuket. And before that, he's had an incident, right? And after the party, he's completely stoned. He's drugged out. He's not in a position to fly. And yet he's flying, right? And the cabin crew, I mean, it was so bad that he was on the cockpit floor at one point. We don't know whether it was during the 300 feet drop, but he's on the cockpit floor. They had to lift him up literally and put him back on his seat. And the co-pilot had to land the plane while it was returning to Delhi. And then and there's a video of him. Sir, there's a video of him, Harsh, of this pilot asking passengers not to record. He says, don't record, and he's not sounding normal. Even in that audio, I have to tell you, he's not sounding normal. He's begging passengers almost not to record. He says, I beg you, please don't record. Don't put this on social media, because he knows he's going to get into trouble, right? And all of this is happening. And here we are. We don't know how he got on the plane. Are there no checks before a pilot gets on a plane? This is crazy. What's going on, Harsh? From what you've reported so far, what are the questions that come up on the functioning of the DGCA, like Captain Vadia has been saying?
Right, Niranjan, we have been fetching shocking details, chilling details. In fact, we have also learned that it was just a 24-hour-long layover in Phuket, and that's the time when the captain of the plane was partying along with other crew members. In fact, out of all the crew members who have in fact lodged a complaint with the airline, at least one crew member has clearly mentioned that the captain of the plane was smoking a pot on air. Now, this is a shocking detail that we have fetched. Now, I'll also want our viewers to remember that earlier there was a DGCA source who was trying to cover this all up by saying that toxicology and impairment are two different issues. Now it becomes a very serious matter of concern also because of the fact, because there is a pilot in command who was smoking a pot mid-air. The plane witnesses a massive free fall of nearly 300 feet, and at one point of time he was found on the floor of the cockpit of the aircraft, where he has to be assisted even to walk him out of the aircraft once the plane was successfully landed at Delhi's IGI airport. Let me also remind our viewers that it was not the captain of the plane, in fact it was not the pilot in command who stabilized the plane after it witnessed the massive turbulence. It was the first pilot who took over, who took the responsibility, who in fact stabilized the plane and later safely landed in at Delhi's IGI airport. He in fact clearly prompted out that the pilot in command was not in a stable position, and that is exactly why he had to take up the charge, stabilizing the plane and then later landing in at Delhi's IGI airport. Niranjan.
Okay, many questions for the DGCA. I want to go across to Ishan. Ishan, obviously DGCA is gone completely quiet. We don't have a statement from either DGCA, AAIB or Air India. In fact, the government put out a statement yesterday, very sort of plain vanilla sort of a statement, just talking about, okay, AAIB has taken over and that France's BAE will also be a part of the investigation. But nobody is coming out and even giving out details of the second positive report, right? The first, response we had was of the non-negative, which is a positive, and then they've gone completely silent. The Air India CEO was called. We don't know what happened. Is there an attempt to cover up once again? DGCA is notorious for covering up. Are they trying to cover up once again?
Absolutely, Naranjan. This particular case, where we can see that the first test came as test came back positive, but it was inconclusive. Then the second test came back positive, which showcased a very clear, which clearly showcased that